and from the 8th chapter of Romans. From the 8th chapter, the 26th verse. Likewise, the Spirit helps us in our weakness, for we do not know how to pray as we ought. But that very Spirit intercedes with sighs too deep for words. And God, who searches the heart, knows what is the mind of the Spirit, because the Spirit intercedes for the saints according to the will of God. The word of the Lord. Thanks be to God. We've got pigs in prayer. What better service could you possibly have? Grace and peace to you from God our Father and from our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. It's tough to decide where to start, but I'll start with the guy who's crazy and living in the tombs. Jesus went to Gerasene for the sake of this man. It does not say that, of course, but Jesus gets in a boat and travels across the lake, the Sea of Galilee, and he meets a man on the shore. And I don't believe in coincidence, not when it comes to Jesus. He was going there to meet this man. And the man was naked. I always like a service where you can get the word naked into it. The man was naked, and he lived amongst the dead people. And apparently that was the high point of his life so far, because before that he was so out of his mind that they bound him with chains, and he was strong enough to break the chains and rushed off to live in the tombs. Anybody amongst us who deals with mental illnesses doing some sort of a diagnosis as we speak. He was a scary guy. And the people in town were afraid of him, and it made sense to be afraid of him. He never knew what he was going to do, and apparently he was amazingly strong when he was possessed by this demon. Now, you and I all know we don't talk about people being possessed by demons nowadays. And I'm never really sure what I want to do with that piece of understanding that comes to us out of the first century. We know people who are held prisoner by any number of things. People who are prisoners to addictions. People who are prisoner to mental illness. People who have been so crushed by something in their lives that it seems to control them. And often, as we see in our veterans, PTSD is a very real affliction. And it holds them prisoner. And so Jesus steps off of this boat. Now, Jesus went to this place across the sea from Galilee. That's your first clue that we're not dealing with Jews in this story. Your second clue is we have pigs on the hillside. This is not something that took place in Jewish territory. So Jesus has crossed to a foreign territory, to an unknown land, to people who are considered outside the veil, to his own people. And if he's going to get an example of somebody who's really in need of some kind of help, this naked guy who's out of his mind living in the tombs amongst dead people seems like a good example. Whatever do we do with this story? I mean, we can focus on the pigs, but in the great scheme of things, I think the pigs are just a vehicle that's used in the plot. I can give you all kinds of background, but I don't think the pigs are the important part. What strikes me is they see this man in his right mind, sitting at the feet of Jesus, clothed. Now, if I had to guess, this would be absolutely the last time, the worst time, the least expected time. You'd expect them to be afraid. Be afraid when he's running around naked and you don't know what he's going to do. But he's clothed and in his right mind and sitting at the feet of Jesus, and they are afraid. I've heard lots of reasons. I think the one I like the best is that anybody who can accomplish that, we have reason to be afraid of, because he's a powerful person. And he has access to power that we don't understand. And what we don't understand, we fear. Because who knows, maybe next week it'll be me. Not that I'm out of my right mind and running around naked, but you just never know what a guy who is that powerful is going to do. So what we do not know, we fear. And they want Jesus to leave. Don't you think you'd want to keep him around? I mean, don't you think they had a couple more people who could have used that kind of healing? Of course, the people who owned the pigs were pretty annoyed, because now they don't own any pigs, and now they don't have a living. But this is not an easy story to wrap our heads around. So I want to go back to when Jesus stepped off that boat, and he met this man who was naked. Nakedness in the Bible has a lot of implications. It is not simply a sexual presence. Remember back in the Garden of Eden, it wasn't until they ate from the tree of knowledge of good and evil. And the next line in the story is, and they saw that they were naked, and they were afraid. Nakedness is an example of extreme vulnerability. And we would feel pretty much the same way. We use our clothes not only to designate, like our office uniforms for police officers and nurses, but we also use our clothes to give ourselves a little buffer between us and the world. We can hide some of our imperfections, our physical imperfections, and in fact, psychologically, we hide behind our clothes as well. So nakedness is a sign of pure vulnerability. And this guy was vulnerable on every possible level. He was out of his mind. He was living with dead people. He was naked. There are few other people described in the scriptures who are both alive and in such need, such enormous need. I can think of times in my life when the need was overwhelming. In fact, the need was so great, I had no idea where to turn. And that's where Romans comes in. For that text in Romans has always been a source of great comfort to me. For we do not know how to pray as we ought, but the Spirit intercedes for us with sighs too deep for words. And the Father knows the Spirit's heart. Soon after my husband's death, and many of you have experienced death like this, you can't breathe. You can't think straight. And I certainly couldn't pray. I had no idea what to pray for, except possibly help me wake up tomorrow morning, and this isn't really true. And so that line from Romans, I could say to myself, well, I don't have to pray, for the Spirit is praying for me. And God knows the heart of the Spirit, and the Spirit knows my heart. And so we have this man on the shore, possessed by demons. And he's not asking Jesus to heal him, but the Holy Spirit is. The Holy Spirit is saying, Lord, this man needs you. And the people of this town need his witness. And so Jesus, just like with a flick of his hand, casts out the demons and gives him his life back. It's a strange story because here is one who, having experienced the power of the Most High, wants to travel with Jesus as a disciple. And what does Jesus say when he's recruiting people to be disciples? He says, follow me. And this man wants to follow. And what does Jesus say? No, that's not your calling. Your calling is not to get into the boat and travel back into Jewish territory where we have a lot that we need to sort out, where there's still a lot to be revealed to the people. No, your calling is to blossom where you're planted. It's to take this story of how the Holy Spirit worked in your life and called Jesus to your side and gave you back your life again. That is now your story. And it's the story you need to tell to everybody in your town. The Spirit prays for us with sighs too deep for words. The United States of America in the last, 4 months, has had moments where we feel possessed. And I do not know what to pray for. So I'm relying on that Holy Spirit and the work that it does for our sake.